Hi, and welcome back to FanCorner, your favorite nerdy, unhinged podcast. Today, joining us are your original co-hosts, me, the face of FanCorner, Rachel, woo, and the lovely, the iconic, the birthday week, Jalaire.
Woo! Yay!
So excited it's your birthday week.
Me too.
Hopefully everyone tells you happy birthday on the comments. So everyone do that.
They better. Or else.
I know.
Just
Otherwise,
kidding.
why are you listening to this? Why are you listening to this if you're not going to tell her happy birthday? I don't know.
Right.
Okay, so I know we had this whole come to whatever moment together where we were like, we're going to skip high mids this time to stay on track. Mm-hmm. But I'm annoying. And I would like to bring up a high.
What is the high?
I realized I am no longer just the face of FanCorner. I actually am FanCorner.
Yay!
I bought out my ex-husband, which a lot of you are probably like, what do you mean? There was another person involved? Yes, guys, there was.
Yeah. There was a secret second person.
There was a secret other person. I was the one that did the Comic-Cons. I was the designer. I was the packager. I was the customer service. I was the social media. I was the face.
Yeah, the face of FanCorner. But no longer. She is the FanCorner.
One in the same, ho. One in the same. I'm very excited about it. So to celebrate, we're going to talk about Sarah J Maas men.
Yeah.
The original book boyfriends, if you will. Especially, at least the trendy book talk ones.
Oh, yeah.
So first things first, with ACOTAR news, we have to talk about what's been going on in the news lately.
I know. Oh, it's kind of exciting. So, a couple things. First off, there are night court editions being released of the books. So,
10 years, yo!
Yeah, 10-year celebration of the first book being released. And there's a video on TikTok that showed a Waterstones somewhere in the UK, Liverpool, I think.
Yeah, it was Liverpool.
But it's going to be in other stores, I'm sure. That is this beautiful night court diorama experience thing. And that's really cool.
Yeah, can you imagine if you could just go visit that? That's wild. It's so stunning. And so it's probably related to the 10-year anniversary. But then also, this weekend, they've been trending on Book Talk. People started getting big booksellers, bookstores started getting these big, huge packages from Bloomsbury, who published ACOTAR, in case you didn't know that. And they are literally, they're ACOTAR books that are the size of a Raichi. They're 6 feet tall. Not that I'm 6 feet tall.
Because I'm you're not 6 feet tall.
Brian made me measure myself because I go around saying I'm 5'9". And he was like, you are not 5'9". Bitch,
how tall are you?
5'5.5".
Dude, I'm 5'5". I could have told you that.
I think the problem is I would meet people that were 5'8", 5'9", and I'm not calling people slouchy, but I think because they were a little slouchy, I was because I didn't know how tall I was. They're like, oh, I'm 5'8", and I was like, oh, well, then I'm about 5'8".
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true.
Tall girl energy.
Yes. But yeah, that's so exciting about those massive books coming to different booksellers, and look them up online. They look so cool, and they're intentionally opened to that one specific page with that one quote.
It's to the page that says, "There you are. I've been looking for you." And so the whole page is printed up, and you can read the whole. That's so cool.
Which is so cool, and it has a big bookmark in there too that has a different quote on it too. I just don't remember what it was. But it's really awesome.
I noticed that in the angle that I saw, so I'm gonna need to watch more videos. So,
well, I will look it up right now.
We will also link one of the videos in the show notes in case you somehow missed it, so you can see them. And if you live in a big city, even I think Denver, I want to say, has Ripped Bodice. It's a romance bookstore. They have one. So these are you could have one near you, so you should really check it out.
Everyone, go find it.
Go find us. But because of these massive books, okay, I hate to be that girl, okay? But part of me is do we think they're about to announce the next ACOTAR book? It's giving Easter egg. I don't know.
I mean, it would be really nice, because it's been a minute since we've had an ACOTAR related thing. We're kind of in the desert. Oh, it said, "Don't let the hard days win or dark days win."
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh,
that's what the bookmark says.
That's a good job, Bloomsbury. Well done.
Yeah.
Round of applause. I know it could just be about the 10th anniversary and these honestly mid special editions, if we're being honest. But I'm really hoping, because that's a lot of press. Yeah, a lot of press, a lot of like photo op moments. That's very expensive. The shipping, that would be so expensive.
Right, that's the kind of stuff that would happen for like an old days midnight premiere. Not like a midnight book release. Not really nowadays, but definitely like in the late 2010s.
Book release stuff, not like this is an old book series, and I know it's still, to be fair, one of the best-selling series that we have, but like for them to put that amount of marketing to get people in, I think it's got to be that the next book's coming out.
It better be.
I always it's all fun and good, but like I always make fun of the girls that every 2 seconds are like, Reputation, Taylor's version's about to come out.
No, but then on the book talk side, it's literally, SJM announced this, and it's like, bitch, that's a fake as fuck article.
No, that happens all the time. I don't know why, but these massive books have convinced me it's coming. Like, I'm just gonna.
It feels too intense.
Too intense, especially. Okay, if it was just one in New York or something, I'd be like, okay,
fine.
Okay,
that makes sense.
This is too many. They're trying to do something about the book launch moment. Oh, but
we are the epitome of that meme of the guy with the red strings and all the things that are like, this is why we're gonna get a new ACOTAR book, y'all.
That's exactly what we're doing. We're like, here's our proof. It's coming. And so now if it comes, you can say FanCorner told you first. Okay, so this is funny though. Y'all, Jolaire, tell me, would you call this ACOTAR, the one that's coming out, ACOTAR 5 or ACOTAR 6?
I would call it 6.
Okay.
Personally.
So if someone came to you and they were like, oh, ACOTAR 5's about to come out, would you be like, or would you know what you're talking about?
I would be like, what do you mean? 5 already came out.
Okay. We have beef. It's fine. So, so I had made a post on TikTok saying the next one's coming out, and I called it ACOTAR 5 because you have 1, 2, 3, right? And then you have the novella, A Court of Starlight.
Frost and Starlight.
Frost and Starlight. There we go. We're just mixing them all up. This is not helping my look now. I just really look stupid and not in the know. But so it's a novella. It's very short, and she's upfront that it is a novella. So standard number conventions, and then we have obviously Nesta's book, the next one, right? So in my mind, Nesta's is 4th because normally novellas are their own thing. They're 0.5s. Like, they're not considered part of the main, like, situation. And so, like, to me, I said ACOTAR 5, and someone, of course, rolled up in my DMs. Not my DMs, my comment section. My DMs would be polite. In my comment section, and was like, this is actually the 6, kiss face. And I was like, first of all, you knew what the fuck I was talking about. And I was like, second of all, I literally was immediately like, so, okay, you're right. For some reason, the fandom is calling this 6. I know that because now I've Googled the articles about it. But in Red Queen, the Red Queen series, and like any other series, when it's a novella, they don't count it as its own book.
No. And like, I totally get that. Here's the thing. I know Court of Frost and Starlight is a novella. However, I feel like maybe why I and maybe most of the fandom count it as book 4 is because it is, I view novellas as like extra material that like maybe you don't need necessarily, like would enrich the full story, but you don't necessarily need for the full story, or it comes out after the book series is done, or like what have you, which in this case it did come out after the initial trilogy was over.
Right.
However, yes. However, you have to read the novella to read Nesta's book because the story continued.
Sure.
And because it's a continuation, that's why I view it as book 4, even though it is a novella. Because most of the time, at least in my experience, like the novellas I've read are kind of like a prequel that you could read later, or bonus stories about random other characters that you can read after the fact. Like, it's not adding to the main crux of the story.
Well, okay, so I will say, I don't know how much of it you really needed to read to understand Nesta's.
No, but I mean, at least it's like giving Feyre's a bow, transitioning into the next book.
Yeah.
It's kind of setting things up a teensy bit.
I don't mind anyone calling it 6. I want to be clear. It's fine. I really don't care. What I care about is, like, why do you gotta go gatekeep like I didn't know the fandom? Because I think if you're in the fandom, you should know that I clearly was just counting the novella differently than you. Like, I don't know. It came at me with some energy. Because just because I know the books very well, but yeah, I didn't know what we refer to it on as on Goodreads or whatever. Like, come on. I don't know.
I don't even use Goodreads.
It felt like an angsty energy to me, personally. Because I think if I'd seen someone say that, if someone said 6, I'd be like, oh yeah, they're counting the novella. Like, I wouldn't feel the need to be like, well, you shouldn't count the novella. Like, even though I was defending my point here, I wouldn't correct someone. Like, it just, I don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Felt rude to me. It felt like she was like, you don't know the books as well as I do, actually. And I was like, bitch, my entire life is these books. Like, I don't know. Can you just please back
Can you not?
Can we not bring the Star Wars male energy into ACOTAR? Like, that does not feel necessary to me personally.
We don't need that. We don't need that.
Critical thinking skills, and you'll know how I came to a different conclusion than you. Okay. Anyway, me getting fully sassy about some random ass comment. To be clear, she might have just meant it as a joke. Like, no one go hunt this comment down. We do not
That's not what we're about.
And it's not okay. We can laugh about how it makes us feel, but we do not go after commenters, to be very clear. Okay, but now we're going to get into our main segment. We're actually going to battle out the Sarah J Maas men. Who's the best of the best? This is kind of inspired by our Book Talk Man Boyfriend episode. We're going to see, but now, just in the SJM universe, who is the best? So first of all, Jalea, tell me off the top of your head, before we get into it, so we can see if it changes, who do you think the best SJM man is? Or boyfriend?
For myself, it would be Dorian from the Throne of Glass series, Dorian Hevillard. But before we truly get into it, I'm going to tell everyone the caveat for this episode.
Okay.
I have only read book 1 of Crescent City still. So, I know everyone flame me in the comments. I'm already aware.
She's working on it. It's fine.
It's fine. So we are intentionally skipping Rune Dannon in this episode because I know there's more and I don't have enough. have enough.
His love story has not really happened yet, which we found out. Do you remember that podcast episode, callback for everyone real quick, where I forgot which book was which for Crescent City and I spoiled something for you about Rune Dannon?
I think you did, but I don't remember what the spoiler was.
It was just really funny because I was like talking about how hot he is and you were like, I'm kind of confused though because he's like Bryce's brother.
Oh yeah, no, because to remind everybody, I literally, because of Book Talk, and everyone's like, Rune Dannon, blah blah blah, with whatever audio is trending, right?
Prince of the Valbarn Fae.
Yeah, like because of like their interactions and like I was like, hold up, everyone's in love with this motherfucker. Okay, so is he her brother? Like, I thought like he's her brother, but I was like, wait. I thought he was her love interest because of how obsessed the fandom on TikTok was with him.
I get where you're coming from because of like Rhys, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. Because it's like when I first read ACOTAR, sadly it was a couple of years ago, and so I'd heard about Rhys. I didn't know much about him, but I was like, okay, everybody loves him for a reason, even though in the first book I was like, he's kind of being an asshole, even though we know why he was. Sure. But I was like, why do people like him? So because I had that experience, and then it's like Crescent City, all I've heard about is Bryce and Rune, I was like, oh, I'm not going to fall for this trap again. They're totally meant to be together. Nope. Well, they're siblings.
I can totally see how you came to that, especially because there was that really popular book series, The Shadow Hunters.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was the City of Bones, The Shadow Hunter series, where the first 3 books pull that shenanigans, which is not great at all.
No, it's not good. But so I think like growing up we were kind of scarred by that, so it's totally valid. It's just really funny. Anyway, so in case anyone wants to come at us for skipping Rune, we'll come back to your tatted daddy later, okay? Like, it's gonna be okay. We'll talk about him, I promise.
It truly is one of the books that is like next up on my TBR after at least 2 books that Rachel has let me borrow. Okay? I've been in a book slump, so it's been hard.
Relatable. But we're going to start off with kind of Rune Dannon's counterpart, the OG in some ways of the Sarah J Maas man, even though the book wasn't the original. But I just feel like we all started in ACOTAR. Rhys.
Yeah,
Let's talk about Rhys. So one of my favorite quotes from, I mean, how do you pick one, right? But one of my favorite quotes from Rhys is honestly, "There you are. I've been looking for you."
I love that quote so much because like a lot of it's so good, but also wait, you just watched Howl's Moving Castle, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Even though you were like, what the fuck is this?
I watched it because I saw edits of people claiming he was like Rhys. That's why I watched it. And I feel like that is a little overstated, but I do see what people are talking about.
I am like, I see where people are coming from, but no. I really like that line because I was a fan of Howl's Moving Castle first. And so at least in their initial meeting where like Hal has, spoiler alert, Hal already knows about Sophie from before. And so Rhys has known about Feyre from before. Yes. So it's just a nice parallel, like in that regards to the Howl's Moving Castle movie, but it's just a nice little nod where like once you know, you know. And it's very cute. Yeah, it's the line, but it all changes for us, right? When we get to A Court of Mist and Fury, the reason people talk about chapter 54 and chapter 55 is because of his story about this line. Explaining how since Feyre's been alive, he's been having these like glimpses of Feyre's life, right? Seeing a hand paint on a dresser, seeing the different things she's seeing her woods. And so like he literally had been looking for this woman because his soul was connected to this woman. And so like having that deeper even
meaning,
before their mating bond was even in place.
Yes.
Because she was human.
She was human, had not met him. It's like fully there for her. And I think knowing this like need to meet her, even though he'd never seen her really, he'd never like this deep-seated need to meet her is so painfully romantic, and I can't get over it. But he still didn't like, even though he'd been looking for her, it was enough just to see her. Like as long as she was happy, he didn't need to like take over her life, right? Like she's doing her own thing. He didn't like try to stay with her. It was like, if that's all it had been, is just to see her one time, that was enough.
Right, because I think he even was willing to let her stay, like, initially with Tamlin because that's who she chose.
Yes. Know? At the end of A Court of Thorns and Roses, he literally thinks to himself, she's happy, she's getting married. And then it's not until he realizes she's not happy and she literally cries out, "Help me, someone help me, stop this," that he shows up with the iconic, like, roll of thunder. So yes, Rhys, epitome of yearning, which I think we're all into.
We are all into yearning. There's been some discourse on Book Talk I've noticed recently where people are like, bring back yearning?
Yes.
And I'm here for it.
I think it's interesting because through these different men's, we're going to talk about some different tropes, but Feyre and Rhys are in a way enemies to lovers because they're from rival courts, but so it's through circumstance that they're enemies to lovers, but obviously on Rhys's end it was always just lovers. And so I think that makes for the perfect amount of yearning in a way. Like I don't like enemies to lovers, but I do like yearning. And so like where he was actually in love the whole time, that's the only reason it works.
That's, you know what I mean? That's my secret yearning. I've been in love with you the whole time. Is like swoon.
And it has to be a really damn good reason that you were not upfront with that, like Rhys has. Otherwise it's just weird. But like I think that that's the key.
Totally. Because on the opposite end of the spectrum, we had Lucien who told Elaine immediately. And she was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, there's got to be an in-between, guys. Like, Rhys took too long to tell Feyre, but Lucien was way too fast. Like, I would rather Rhys's way every day. Like,
truly.
That's a great point, honestly. Another iconic Rhys quote that I wanted to make sure we call out is, "You are my salvation, Feyre." So this is one of my favorite scenes. So this is before she knows she's his mate, and he's helping her do up her leathers. And so he's kneeling in front of this woman, and she says, "Is that what I am to you, your assassin?" And he says, "You're my salvation." Like, okay, you know, there's that like phrase, like, listen to a man when he says who he is. And usually it's because men tell us that they are assholes, and then we just like help make excuses for them is usually
Mhm.
what it means. But in Rhys's case, when you look back at his lines, it's so clear he was in love with her. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Anyway, that's just really fun.
No, it's yes. I agree.
But he does have some downsides that we should talk about too.
Bum, 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 which we have talked about on this podcast before.
That's fair.
So, welcome if you're a first-time listener, but also to seasoned veterans.
We'll keep it short. So, what's your top downside, July?
The one that bothers me every time I think about it is him not telling her the like circumstances of her own pregnancy and giving her a choice. Like, come on.
So the only thing I can think of is that Maas just like accidentally poorly wrote herself into like a fantasy conundrum, because the whole thing was Feyre couldn't, like, it was because the baby was an Illyrian baby because she was using her shapeshifting, and so the baby was Illyrian but her hips were human or Fey, and so she couldn't birth it, and so she was gonna die horrifically, not just die horrifically, mother and child both dead, gone.
And Rhys kept that from her and tried to resolve it on his own. And that's insane.
That's so insane. And also it really makes me judge their healer too. That I don't care that Rhys is High Lord. She's High Lady. And she's the patient. Power dynamics don't matter. She's the patient. You tell the fucking patient what's going on. Period. Because, like, Feyre should have had a choice to... I know they were afraid for her to shapeshift with the baby in her tummy, but I think her shapeshifting would have been safer for both of them. Because right now they're both gonna die, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's big ick. I hope Sarah J Maas just messed up and is not actually a pro-lifer. I don't know. For real. But then my other beef with Rhys, because for a lot of people his character is ruined in Nesta's book, A Court of Silver Flames, because of the pregnancy plot. Yeah. But there's a moment that now that I'm a more healed woman, because when I first read about Rhys years and years ago, it was like Rhys or nothing. You know what I mean? But now, as a more evolved woman, there's a moment that I cannot stand of Rhys's, and it makes me so mad. When he sends her to the Weaver's cottage to get back his mom's ring before she had training. What the literal fuck was that? Like, and that's not me saying Feyre's not a badass. Feyre single-handedly
she clearly is.
She clearly is. Single-handedly took down the Middengard worm, right? But, like, what do you mean you sent her without training? Knowing that she would, like, until, like, what, 2 weeks ago, hadn't been fed enough food. And you're just, like, sending her against, like, one of the scariest beings in Paranth? What? Yeah. Anyway, seems reckless and stupid, and honestly, I don't respect it at all.
Yeah. Thanks, I hate it.
Thanks, I hate it. Almost ruins him, it's fine. Yeah. Speaking of yearning, let's talk about Cassian.
I ended up liking Cassian so much more than I initially thought I would when I read Court of Silver Flames. Like, he obviously was a really fun goofball character throughout Feyre's storyline, right? We loved him then, right? He even was like, you know, joking with Rhys, like, if you don't try to be with her, I will. Like,
I hate that moment. That's so funny. You're like, this is so funny. And
no, it is pretty fucked up, but it just made me laugh like a teensy bit, because it's like, dude, in my mind, it's kind of like, bro, you're gonna skip this. You're not gonna take a shot with this wonderful lady. No. But Cassian grew on me so much in A Court of Silver Flames. He definitely is a yearner.
Yes, he is a yearner.
He's in for the long haul.
Cassian,
literally.
Cassian's one of my favorites, and it's funny because Feyre's my favorite, and then Cassian's my favorite. So, like, but they're not together, and I don't want them together. If that makes sense.
No. I love them as best friends.
So one of my favorite Cassian quotes is actually before A Court of Silver Flames. It's when they're all about to die, right, at the battlefield with Hybern. And Cassian's literally dying, and he says, I have no regret, to Nesta, to be clear, I have no regrets but this, that we did not have time, that I did not have time with you, Nesta. I will find you in the next world, the next life, and we will have that time, I promise you. while he's dying. Like, and she, like, that's when she's, like, sobbing. She's, like, going through it. And then she's like, you're not gonna die, and screaming at him. It's such a beautiful moment. And I think, yeah, I don't know. I think it's one of the best male quotes we have, honestly, in some ways.
Honestly, yeah. Very fire.
So fire. Especially with the context, which is, like, they didn't really have a ton of interactions before this. Like, he was in love with her. Yeah, perfect example of yearning. He was in love with her long before it was said verbally. And it was clear, but it was also clear she was not ready for it. He honestly should school Lucian in shutting the fuck up.
Yeah, for sure. Because what I also respected about Cassian is that he always gave Nesta her space. And, like, you know, still would try to kindly insert himself in to, like, help her, you know, heal and, like, point things out as, like, any good friend would. But, like, he never, like, forced himself into her life. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, it's very much on her terms, as it needs to be. My favorite moment, actually, of Cassian's, when he very first meets Nesta, right? So Nesta's still human at this point. They've gone to her home. And it's like, Feyre notices, like, a weird energy between them. She says it looks like Cassian recognizes, like, a worthy opponent for the first time.
Yeah.
And he literally... So Nesta says something like she does that's incredibly fucking rude and dismissive. And Cassian, even though he has this tension with her, immediately snaps back. And was like, well, you know what, I can't... Okay, I'm going to botch this quote because I didn't bother to look it up, and I'm sorry. But he basically says something like, well, you know what I don't respect? That you had your 11-year-old sister go out and hunt for y'all.
Oh, yeah.
Younger sister. What the fuck? Right. And it literally, Elaine had to go, because Nesta kind of is taken aback by that. And Elaine steps in and is like, we both failed. I thought, actually, in a weird way, because I know it's like him calling her out, I think it's a perfect example of, like, something Nesta needs. Feyre never calls out Nesta and Elaine, like, when we first see her in the cottage. Like, she doesn't give them the money they ask for necessarily to buy new boots, even though Feyre's are the oldest and she's the one, like, out trapezing through the woods to hunt for them. But, like, she doesn't really push back either on Nesta being cruel. And so I think, in a weird way, Cassian being willing to push back so hard on Nesta is a love thing. Like, you have to really love someone to see the potential in them in order to push back. Because if someone's just a piece of shit, you're just not going to say anything. You're just going to be like, whatever. Right? It's like, people pleasing's a toxic kind of love. And that's not what Cassian has for Nesta. And I think that's quite beautiful.
Totally. And he matches her Nesta's fiery personality. Like, it makes sense with, like, he's met his match, you know. I remember this one. I do remember this moment. Okay. It was one of his moments where him and Nesta are having heart to heart, which happens a couple of times in Court of Silver Flames. Not very often, but it happens, like, a few times. And she says, I still don't know how to fix myself. And he says, there's nothing broken to be fixed. He said fiercely. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's such a beautiful thing. My therapist says all the time, I'm not allowed to call myself broken.
Yeah.
So I'm not allowed to use that language, but that doesn't mean you can't grow. And so I think he understands that distinction. Nesta's not broken. She's still working on being the kind, as we all are and should be, the kindest person she can be, but nothing about that is broken. Like, she is a survivor.
Truly.
And that's important. Yeah, no, a great example. So, downsides for Cassian. I have a big one, but I don't know. Maybe we'll hear yours first. Don't worry.
Well, the thing is, I kind of agree with yours, though.
We know each other too well. She already knows what I'm gonna say. Like,
yeah. So I'll let you speak it to everybody first.
No, honestly, I want to hear how you would put it, because I'm just gonna, like, get on a little soapbox and yell about it. So you'd go first.
It seems like it's just the amount of, like, messing around and getting at it and having sex and all the time when she's trying to, like, heal that part of herself and not have that as, like, a coping mechanism.
Yeah, so literally the whole reason Feyre and Rhys are, like, doing an intervention is because not only is she spending their money recklessly and not asking about it or whatever. But more importantly than the money is she's get so drunk off her ass that she can sleep with random men, right? She's not soberly sleeping with men. She's drunk off her ass sleeping with men. And it's this weird, toxic, obviously, like coping mechanism. Obviously, I'm not saying you can't hook up with random men, but she was doing it in a very self-harmy way.
And she kind of realizes that it's self-harmy eventually.
Oh yeah, she totally knows. Like, she smells, her house smells, she's living in a dingy dirt hole. Like, she's not taking care of herself in any way, shape, or form. But then she goes, Cassian, so that's why she's sent away. And then Cassian lets himself be in a position, and I know he's been yearning for her, but where they're fucking around and finding out. And it's like, and so they're kind of like hate making love. That's a weird way to put that.
Hate sex. Yeah,
they're having hate sex. And I understand why that was hot for some people. It's fine if you think it's hot. But I don't know that it was healthy for Nesta. Like, I think we should have let Nesta heal more before doing that. Yeah, there was an alcohol this time, but
But doesn't make it right.
And I guess it's not... Okay, so we're treating, like... It's not strangers, so she doesn't have that same, like, sort of unsafetyness of that. But it's still, like, emotionally not great for you. Yeah. Like, her reading books, like, from that the library keeps... The house keeps
the House of Wind.
That was so cute! That's a good coping mechanism. We love to see it.
We love it.
But, like, I think, like, I'm not mad that Nesta reached for that because she's in a dark place, but I'm mad, especially where Cassian loved her, I'm mad that he let her do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same page, exactly.
Yep.
Okay, let's get to our favorite man.
Honestly, the sleeper hit favorite man that, like, if you had asked me maybe like 2 years ago, I would have said Rhys, but here we are. And it's Dorian fucking Havillard.
Hey, we have to talk about it. It's better than There You Are, I've Been Looking For You.
Yeah.
You cannot pick and choose what parts of her to love. Dorian gets it, yo. Yeah. Dorian gets it. He's not trying to, like, he understands fully when he loves a woman. Any woman, because we see him go through a few different ones, right? That sounded bad.
It's no, but the series is long, covers a lot of span of time. We get people being with different people, which honestly, can we take a moment to say, like, I totally respect that that's something that happened over the course of the series, because you don't really see that in a long haul book series.
That's true. Anyways. It wasn't then a bunch of fake drama then too, to like raise the stakes, but like keep them together, which is nice.
Yeah.
Like he fully understood. And he does fully understand Aelin. Like, who she is as a person, whether it was when he was in love with her or whether he's just loving her as a friend. He understands who she is. And then, like, he sees who she is. And then he chooses to love all of it. Which is what you have to do, right? And so, honestly, also, him calling out his best friend, Kale, who's he saying this quote to, where he's like... Because Kale, for those of you that don't remember, is a little bitch. Yeah. And is basically like... What do you mean Celaena's killing people? That the king tells her she has to or he'll kill her. And you're like, she's an assassin, bro. You just helped her win this what?
Yeah, like, you know she's an assassin. Like, literally her title is Ardalan's Assassin. Are you kidding me? You just happened to meet her when she had just been, you know, in Endovir. And, you know, it's like literally at one of her lowest points.
Well, Jalaire... That's not what a nice lady should do. She should just wear her pretty dresses and sit in the corner. So you forget Kale only has 2 brain cells, so we have to give him grace.
I know. Also, Dorian just goes through a lot of the characters do. But Dorian goes through so much character development because we see him, like, in book 1, you know, the Throne of Glass book, because he's not in Assassin's Blade, you know. He's known as, like, the partier and like kind of a little more aloof, like whatever, like the ladies' man of sorts. And then he meets Aelin and they have their brief romance for book 1, which was fun. But then it's like, that was just the crux of like him changing and becoming who we came to love. Right. And he just, not that there's anything wrong with being a partier, just FYI, but Dorian goes through this complete shift where we see him become somebody else, and it's like a better version of himself by the end of the book.
So it's interesting because he's a partier, but I want to be clear, he was a partier, but he always cared about people. Mm-hmm. He was doing what he thought he had to do to survive his father's regime.
Yes.
But Aelin pushes back, and I think what's unique about Dorian, and we see this even after the partier phase, we see this throughout the book, he grapples with these bigger questions about what does it mean to be a good king when he was under his father's reign? What does it mean to be a good prince under an evil king? Like, how can I push back in healthy ways? Like, he's constantly taking in information that people give him and truly listening to it. And we don't see men do that a lot. And I think that's why he was able to push back on Chaol the way he was, is because he actually listens and absorbs. And so I think that is why, like, he started good, but yeah, he ends up even better. And I love seeing that, because sometimes we just see these men go from like, oh, he's an evil piece of shit, and then eventually he's a good guy. Like, no, that's not what happened. Like, Dorian's always been a good guy, and I do agree. He just like keeps taking in the new information.
Even when he like learned, like ended up having magic and is like trying to learn how to do that. I remember he was even kind of torn with the fact that he had magic too, you know?
Yeah, because no one else can have it because his father took it away from everyone.
Yeah.
Obviously there's that iconic moment where Dorian has been taken over by a demon, right? He has one of the word callers on. And when he meets Manon, which to be fair is in part because her eyes, but she has powers, right? But he like fights back against the demon. The demon's like, don't listen to her. But he talks back to Manon, himself, which he hadn't been himself, as we know, for quite a long time because of this demon. And he pushes back and he's flirting with Manon. But actually, it's funny as it is to joke about how he overthrew a demon just to flirt. What I like about it is that he was purposely taunting her into killing him. I think it shows so much resilience in a weird way. Like, I know he's trying to get himself killed. That's absolutely what he was trying to do. He was trying to get Manon to kill him. Yeah. And Manon even knows that's what he was trying to do. But like, he knows that what the demon is doing with him is evil. But he hasn't just given up. He's taking the small amount of control he has to try to stop the demon from doing even more harm. I actually think that just goes to show how good of a person he is. Honestly, but also, him being that in love, like that immediately with Manon, lock the fuck in with Manon, is also iconic.
Yes. The pairing that I did not expect when I was reading, honestly.
Stupid Brian, because we're reading them right now, we're doing the audiobooks. He immediately, the second they met each other, he was like, oh yeah, that's Endgame. And I was like, can you just not? Not? You son of a bitch. He also called Sorsha dying. Little healer girl. He was like, how did he call that? I don't know. I asked him and he was like, oh, well, because obviously he can't just end up with a healer. Like,
tell that to Chaol's wife.
Okay, but Chaol is not nearly as important as Dorian.
I know, but like, LOL.
That is funny. That is really funny. Okay. I speaking of him being such like a whatever, do you remember when he plays those pool games? Like him and Aelin, Selena, when she's Selena, are playing pool, and like she often is the one that wins, but the few times she doesn't make like a good shot, how she cusses like a little sailor, and she gets so mad because Aelin's so competitive, and he just thinks it's so funny and giggles. Like, he's such a good sport about her just trouncing his ass, and I think that's such a like, I don't know, like a lot of men aren't secure enough in their masculinity to let a woman beat them. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
But Dorian fucking Javiard is.
100%. Obviously, we love Dorian a lot, clearly. But tell me, what else do you love about him?
Dorian is literally the it girl of the Sarah J Maas universe. Like, everybody wants to be with him, and everyone wants to be him. Like, I want to be him. Are you kidding me? His power is sick. The little ice stuff? Yeah, say less. Like, I want to be the little crown prince. Psh. Dorian, you can't choose what parts that you love of her Javiard. He's the bar for love now.
Truly.
Especially, okay, if we're being honest, some of the SJMNs have a lot of downsides. The enemies to lovers be enemies to loverin. Do you know what I mean? Like, they be enemies.
They be truly enemies.
Dorian's a simp from day one, and I love it.
I do love a good yearning simp. He gives his all to whomever he's with, and I respect it.
No, seriously.
And also is so loyal to his friends. Everybody he cares about, he is there. Like,
Dorian and I hate Kale, but Dorian and Kale's friendship is so iconic.
It is. It is truly iconic. Together. Yes. Also, like, okay, this is like a side thing. I just love also how even as we approach the end of Throne of Glass, and Dorian's like not under, you know, the curse of this demon anymore.
Yeah.
How obviously he's, you know, close friends with Aelin, but I love how he treats her as like an equal in terms of like how to rule and like move forward, you know?
Yes, I think that they are soulmates. Actually.
Oh yeah, like platonic soulmates.
Yes, they're okay. Well, really, they should have been real soulmates. But
I mean, yes, but
in the universe, yes, platonic soulmates. They are French soulmates, and like I think that love cannot be broken. I think they balance each other in their friendship so beautifully. Like, could you imagine if Dorian was just like, yeah, Aelin should be the one that dies?
Oh
like,
gosh,
what the fuck? No, like they both had to want to sacrifice. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. There's a lot, but
they're beautiful.
But like, I love that he truly saw her as an equal.
Oh, absolutely. And I think actually better than everyone, including Rowan, he understands her, which is why he can treat her as an equal. Like, he's never second guessing that she has a plan. He's like, yeah, she has a fucking plan. Like,
yeah, we just don't know it. She's like 20 steps ahead of us. So what do you mean?
Yeah, there's just a full blind trust, this beautiful trust. Speaking of, let's get into who she actually ends up with. But I'm going to have a good attitude. Because people did write in that they love him, so I need to have a good attitude.
I know a lot of people love him. You guys love him. We don't super love him. It's Rowan.
We do have some positives, though. So
there are positives.
Okay, so I think for me the quote is, even when this world is a forgotten whisper of dust between the stars, I will still love you.
Hot.
That was a good quote. It was
that
hot.
was a pretty good quote.
Yeah, the world was ending, so it was fitting. Claire, what's one of your favorite quotes?
The most iconic one, which is to whatever end. That they say that a couple of times to each other.
Yeah, honestly, it becomes sort of their like anthem, I would say.
Yeah, kind of like their affirmation, their mantra, what have you. Like, no matter what, to whatever end.
It's a stunning affirmation. I absolutely love it. And I will say, speaking of pros. Freudian slip there. It's pretty iconic that he followed her to Ardalan. Like, she was like, stay here. It's like, I'm gonna go deal with shit first, and then I'll send for you. And he was like, nah, fam, I'm gonna come anyway. Like, honestly, that was the move, and I did really like that about him.
Like, yeah, eventually there gets to be a point where I still don't think they understand each other as well as Dorian understands her, but their relationship and understanding, like, they do. Obviously, we all know I'm not a huge fan of their pairing, but there are definitely some good things that come of it where they trust each other and rely on each other and want to protect each other. There's a lot of good things that are there, and it just took a long time to get there. Okay.
He also has this like really like in terms of like outside of his relationship with Aelin, he has this really interesting humor that's kind of really iconic. So what comes to mind for me is when he meets Lysandra.
Oh yeah.
He says, you know, she's like saying something about his ears. She's like, oh, you don't see a lot of fae around here. And he's like, why are you observing them so you can use it, shapeshifter?
Oh yeah.
No one knew yet. And so I just think like that like was such an iconic way, because he wasn't just like, oh my god, you're a shapeshifter. Like, that would have been a really boring way to do that. He did it with Rhys, and I respect
Yes, he did.
it.
Yeah, I respect it.
Rhys. So downsides to Rowan.
Yeah. because it was enemies to lovers, which a lot of people do like their romance for that reason. Like, he truly, like, it really was enemies to lovers. They literally hated each other.
Yeah.
You know, they really hated each other. And he was not nice to her at all. And was just pushing her buttons physically after everything she'd been through. And I hated it.
So, you know, it's interesting because, okay, remind everyone that Aelin was suicidal.
Yes.
Okay, Nehemia just died. The reason, I know it's all funny and stuff too, retrospectively, that he's like in his hawk form seeing her drunk off her ass on a rooftop. That's funny, but like, he doesn't give a fuck about her. Like, it's very clear she's going through something and he just doesn't care. And he's constantly rude to her, not just on the push, that initial push, but then when he starts training her too, he constantly says derisive remarks to her. And we're talking cutting to the bone mean. Not just like, I hate you, so I'm not going to hang out with you. Like, cutting to the bone mean. And he like attacks her integrity, who she is as a person, insinuates all kinds of horrible things about her. But like, literally, it takes one of the cooks pushing back on Rowan to be like, what the fuck, you're breaking this girl, for him to realize. And he thinks to himself, well, I wouldn't have done it if I knew she was suicidal.
Girl,
everybody knew she was suicidal.
Yeah, and so it was very obvious she was suicidal.
So you are so in your own world. This man is hundreds of years old, I will remind everybody.
Oh yeah, he couldn't get over the fact that, I can't remember, he had issues with his like previous like wife and life going away.
Yeah, he thought it was his mate had died. But yes. Like, okay, so she died. That's sad. You can hate on people. There's a difference between like not engaging and actively being an asshole. And he was actively an asshole. And I don't know, he's not hundreds of years alive. And he isn't self-aware enough not to push someone closer to suicide. Because even if he didn't know that she was suicidal, even if people hadn't been like, you're breaking her, is he just a moron? You're supposed to be this big, smart baddie. But, like, he doesn't know. So you don't have eyes, you're unobservant. Well, maybe you should be fired then. Because, I don't know how you're a war general.
Right?
It seems like a requirement to the job, Jolaire. So I have zero respect for this enemies to lovers.
Yeah.
In a very cruel way.
Because you can't be a dick to someone that's suicidal and then expect me to love that they fell in love.
Yeah, no, you can't. It's like I'm gonna bully this woman until she's so depressed.
I'm gonna bully this woman I'm gonna bully this woman until she's so sad and depressed that the only thing she would maybe want is me. How does that work?
It's giving negging. Like, he was like, if I break her hard enough, we can be together. I hate Rowan. Anyway.
I'm sorry, everybody. Everybody that loves him, I'm so glad you love him. Clearly, we just don't.
The person that wrote in said that he was because we did an Instagram poll. Those of you are like, what do you mean wrote in? We did an Instagram poll asking for everyone's favorites. The person that wrote in about Rowan said because he's the epitome of touch her and you'll die. And I will say, he has that iconic quote when she's kidnapped, right? Where he's like, where's my wife? Or my mate.
Yeah, something like that.
And it's like very intense, right? And it was very beautiful. And I feel for the pain he was in. I really do. But I just struggle to believe you can be alive for hundreds of years and you're that cruel to everybody. Because there's a difference between grumpy and cruel, which is what we're going to get into with Hunt. Because I like Hunt a lot more. But I also want to bring up, I don't want to ruin this quote, but I'm going to ruin it. Because I have a little devil horn emoji as a face. Okay. So the iconic quote, to whatever end, which I agree is a beautiful affirmation. But when it was first said, before it became their mantra, it was part of a larger saying where he said, I claim you to whatever end.
Ick.
You can say that in the bedroom and that's it. And in the bedroom, meaning in the actual bed, the ... kind. Like, you don't just get to say that
about anybody.
And hello? I know, fey men, blah, 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 but Rhys wasn't that way.
No.
I'm sorry, if you can't control that claiming, no, you don't get to claim me.
You know what it's giving? It's giving imprinting from Twilight.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. It's like where they accidentally will hurt them. Like, no, it's gross, and I hate it.
Like, thanks. I hate it. Also, before we move away from Throne of Glassmen, I just want to give a cute honorable mention to Sam Cortland.
That's a good point. May he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace. I literally sobbed my eyes out.
I'm re-listening to the book right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, bad times coming.
Yeah. Like, why am I doing this? Like, I am glad that he was, again, I'm going to keep this brief. I'm glad he was Aelin's first love. Truly. Yeah. They were so good for each other. His time was just cut too short. But the amount of good that relationship did for Aelin, beautiful.
He was a really good person.
He was. Sam. Me too. I miss him. If he was alive, maybe he could have beat out Dorian for me. I don't know. But let's move on.
If he'd only had more time.
No, truly.
Okay, so you know what though Dorian has? Dorian has daddy energy too. We didn't talk about this, but like with Manon, he had that kind of controlling edge in the bedroom. I know I just gave Rowan shit for the claim thing, but only in the bedroom.
Only in the bedroom is that okay? Yeah. I mean, of course, Manon was into it.
Of course she was. That woman needs that in her life.
She's an icon.
She's an icon. Okay, so let's move on to Hunt from Crescent City.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so one of my favorite quotes, I see you, Quinlan, and I like all of it. Beautiful. Kind of that same concept.
It's the same
of like,
vibe.
I'm fully understanding who you are as a person. I've put in the work, because it is work, right? I've put in the work to fully understand who you are as a person. I've put in the thought about it. And you know what? You're fucking awesome. That's cute.
Which is awesome. The other like quote that we have that's just a good swoon-worthy quote is, our love is stronger than time, greater than any distance. Our love spans across stars and worlds. I will find you again. I promise.
Yeah. It goes hard.
Yeah.
It goes hard.
I was, because it's been a fat minute, I actually reread the synopsis of like summary for Crescent City Book 1. And I was like, and I was like, oh yeah, the end of that book was so emotionally devastating and hard.
That was like such an intense last 100 pages of a book.
It was so intense.
It was so good. Way.
Yeah.
You know, it's not my favorite of the SJM books, but it is my favorite battle scene in the SJM books by far. So yeah, I agree. You know, it's interesting because, you know, he is also enemies to lovers. But yet I don't hate Hunt. I do think Bryce deserves better, and I found myself kind of confused that it wasn't over. Like, I thought it was going to be temporary, but I wanted him to be a stop measure on her way. But I do think him going from sort of grumpy judgment on, like, her getting her nails done and, like, her being a party girl to, like, actually understanding that she was always having a reason for what she was doing and, like, really good fucking strategic reasons for what she was doing and how she was using these, like, things, like makeup and stuff, as a weapon. I thought that was really beautiful to watch. That, like, that softening, because we had it from his actual pop, was really fun because he wasn't outwardly mean. He was just grumpy.
He was grumpy. He was, like, annoyed, you know. Yeah. But he was never outright cruel to her.
Okay, large exception, though.
Okay, yes.
This out there.
Yes,
the night that the whole, like, Danica murder situation.
Yeah.
He was cruel then when because Bryce was, like, strung out on a lot of drugs. He was cruel then. When they're trying to get the demons out. But aside from that, when they're doing the investigation later together, I wouldn't say he was outright cruel. Again, grumpy, he's like, we need to get going. Why aren't we getting going?
Yeah,
like,
he's being an annoyed grumpy
doing this.
Yeah, he's being annoyed and grumpy, which, you know, was like his character trait. But then he really...
Personality, grumpy. Like, that's it. That's the whole personality.
Yeah. But then it was really beautiful to see him get to know her, and then her letting her walls down. Him letting his walls down, too, because they truly got to understand each other. I'm also of the opinion that Bryce deserves better.
Yeah.
But I respect what they built, and that what they were able to do for each other. And that he truly, started to see her for who she was and accept that.
They have some really excellent banter too. Like, I do agree that they have a really, like, fun to read flirtation.
Yes.
Like, their lust is definitely there.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Do you remember when he's like, he's being weird? He's like poking around in her stuff in her closet.
Yes.
And he finds her like her
unicorn collection.
Yeah, her unicorn collection, but I have like a different name.
Yeah.
And he was like, she like was like, "Are you looking for my sex toys?"
Yes.
And he like blushes. That was so iconic. I love that
iconic.
whole thing.
Yeah.
That was really fun. I did squeal. So that being said, downsides, right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, gives a little bit of misogynistic that he was judging partying, nails, makeup, heels, sparkles the way he was. Because again, this man's been alive for hundreds of years. So him being like assuming that nails and stuff must mean that you're being frivolous. If he was a 25-year-old man, maybe it's possible he hadn't learned that lesson yet, but he's a hundreds-of-year-old man. So it's like, so you just didn't try? You know, you just lived in this big city and you're like, what?
You just lived in the city and were depressed and didn't, you know, observe people, didn't do anything.
Like, women just suck. I think that's annoying. How can you go from a misogynist from hundreds of years to just fixing it? I don't know. That gives me the ick, but...
Yeah. No, for real.
But I will say the photos thing was really beautiful. Like, her always taking photos of them. And, like, he starts to get into it. Because, like, his phone used to have nothing on it. Like, him watching the carousel and realizing that's how he realized he was in love is by looking at these photos he had started taking because she kept bullying him into taking more and more photos. That was iconic. That was flirtation.
Cute. That was cute.
So, pro cons.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to our write-ins. And these are fairly unhinged.
Yeah.
But so these are characters we had not talked about otherwise. So first up, we have Helion. And this is really funny because when I sent the write-in to Jalaire, what did you say, Jalaire?
I don't remember who this is. Who are they?
She was like, what?
I'm like, who is this man? Because, like, I've been reading the Odyssey, listening to Epic the Musical, whatever. So my brain is like Greek mode, right? So I was like, Helios, the sun god? What? You know, even though obviously it's not. But that was where my brain first went with just Helion instead of, you know, went to Helios, like misread. I'm like, there is no sun god in our series.
To be fair, he's super side character. Like, he's just not, like, I don't blame you, but for those of you who are wondering the same thing, Helion is the High Lord of the Day Court, so the sun god Helios, that's probably why he was named the way he was.
Yeah.
But, like, this is what the person who wrote in said, and I had to have a lot of interpretation on this, because I was like, what does any of those words mean?
Yeah.
But I love the energy. Okay, so they said, Helion is just a Leo partying to forget how much he loves his baby mama in the Autumn Court. Like, Siri play Bejeweled by Taylor Swift. That's why he's their favorite. And I don't know, because I was like, well, what is a Leo? What does that mean? Like, I know it's astrology, but I was like, I don't know what this means.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You're like I'm not proficient in that because it's not me or my crush. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I think. So I don't know for a fact, so if they're listening to this, they'll have to say in the comments if we're correct or not. But I think what they're kind of getting at is, like, how iconic it is. So, reminder, Helion is Lucien's father, which is why Lucien's magic shows up a little differently, which means Helion had hooked up with, at some point, the High Lady of the Autumn Court. I know she's not technically a High Lady, because no one lets anyone be High Ladies except Rhys, but that's sexist, so we're not going to propagate that.
We're not going to keep that.
We're not keeping that. So, the High Lady of the Autumn Court, he'd hooked up with her at some point. But that would have been an affair, to be very clear, because he is the youngest son, Lucien, or, like, one of the youngest.
Yeah, I think he is the youngest one.
I think so.
I'm going to fact check that right now.
Okay, like, people are going to come take our fandom card. It's going to be a whole thing. So, I think it's kind of, like, yearning. Like, he's such a partier, which he is. He's like a threesome level partier.
He is, like, the
flirting.
youngest.
Okay, perfect. So it's definitely very much an affair. So he's flirting with, like, all these random women. We hear that he, like, low-key has threesomes in his court all the time. He tries flirting with Rhys and Feyre, which is very unhinged, I will be very clear. But I think it's, like, all just to try to run away from the fact that he misses his autumn court mama is what this person is suggesting. And that's kind of beautiful because in its own way, that's a form of yearning. Like, he has to cope endlessly because he misses her. So I don't know if that's what they were getting at, but that's what I think they were getting at.
That's the vibe we are interpreting.
That is the vibe we're interpreting. I do think that's a little, we don't have a lot of information on Helion, so I think there's a few jumps in there, but I can see it. I actually really can see it.
Yeah.
It's a fun tinfoil hat theory. I like it. We will be linking below a video that they sent us of Helion partying it up.
It was really funny. It was so funny.
Before Julia even remembered who Helion was, too. So
yeah, I was just like, this is great, but who?
You're like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, so this one, the like prompt I had put on our Instagram stories was out of who's your favorite SJM boyfriend, right? And someone wrote in something I was not expecting, and yet I'm into it. They wrote in Man in Blackbeak. And I was like, that was not the answer I was expecting.
But also, I'm here for it.
I think it might be the answer.
It might be the
Manon
answer.
has this sort of very okay, so I don't not masculine energy, but she definitely has daddy energy.
Yeah. No, she literally it's giving, when I read this, I'm like, okay, it's giving she this is just me spitballing here. Okay. It's giving bicon, she's a bi icon woman that would be more masculine leaning in a queer relationship. You know what I'm saying?
So she literally, we have this scene because Dorian can shapeshift. Mm-hmm. So we have this scene where he shapeshifts into a witch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. To go under the radar. Mm-hmm. And him and Manon had a thing already. Mm-hmm. But so that would have obviously been male, female. But then he switches into a witch and there's a fucking sexual tension. Mm-hmm. Okay. So she clearly has to be bi. She clearly has to be. And so, and honestly, she hates men. So it kind of, which, just because you hate men doesn't mean you can choose your sexuality, unfortunately. But
yes, unfortunately, I am attracted to men.
Against my wishes. When she walks into a room, though, she has presence, and I think that's why I'm thinking daddy. You know what I mean? She commands a room.
Truly, she really does. She steals whatever scene she's in because of her presence.
Literally, and everyone thrown a glass.
Really, truly. And everyone knows not to fuck with her.
Yes. Don't fuck with her. And then what I love about her is, so even though she steals these scenes and she's always like, I'm such a badass, I'm going to kill everybody. Literally at the same time, she's picking out the wimpy dragon because she sees the strength it would take for him to still be a survivor. She's when she finds out what she did from Astrid, she's like, this is why my grandmother didn't tell me because she knows I would have done something. She's just whatever. And then, okay, talk about burn the world down for someone. You know what we got to talk about? And maybe this is why we all fucking love this scene. Maybe it's causing bi panic, okay? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. There's this moment where after they flirt, Dorian and Manon, right? Manon chooses, with Astrid, they race across the continent, racing across the clock, right? To do it in time, to get to the capital city, to write with blood all over the city, because she didn't know where Aelin was. Witch killer. The human inside is still alive. She did everything she could to save Dorian's life from one interaction. And you might be like, well, Rachel, it was a life debt. I don't know if it was.
I don't care. It's iconic.
She was burning the world down for Dorian, and I will take no other questions about it. Truly. I think she already knew. She was like, this motherfucker's trying to fight off a demon to taunt me into killing him. And she was like, you know what? I respect it and I'm into it.
No, truly, I feel like that is probably, I accept that. I feel like that would be so true.
I'm not even going to call it a tinfoil hat. It's just accurate.
It's just facts. Truly, I mean, Aelin is an amazing, lead character, but Manon was probably my favorite female character.
I agree with that. I think it, in a lot of ways, picked up once Manon was involved. Oh, and I love Aelin. This isn't anything against Aelin.
No, this isn't Aelin slander. I love her.
No, it wasn't the answer I thought. Mm-hmm. But when I went into this episode before this person had written this in and everything. I fully anticipated Dorian to be the answer for me. But actually, it's changed for me. The boyfriend of the SJM universe for me now is Manon.
Yeah, actually, same.
Because she does burn the world down for the people she loves. And I love that daddy energy. Give it to me. Give me more. Give me more. And her hair is stunning. Like, this, yeah, say less. Her long, silvery white hair. Come on. Okay,
compromise. Joint boyfriend of the universe is Dorian and Manon.
I'm not into what is that, polyamory?
No. I'm not saying like we need to, like, basically, like, these are the top two. These are your choices.
These are my choices. I agree with that.
Not me, like, not with me together. No threesome. None of that. No, none of that.
No shade at people that are into that, but the they like, are the hottest couple by far. I love reading about them from either direction.
Like, but like, I can't choose. I can't choose. I love them both for different reasons. They are the moment. They are the answer.
You're like, I need a season of The Bachelor where it's actually just them fighting for me. Like, that's what I need.
Let it go.
No, Manon just causing by panic, and I'm honestly into it. Okay. So thank you for joining us in this very unhinged episode. I doubt anyone expected us to crown Manon sort of the top here.
No, probably not.
That's where we are. Like, that's where we are. The person wrote it in, and I was like, you're right, actually.
No, I remember seeing that, and I was like, I literally was, my flabbers were gasted. I was like, when I saw that response, I was like, yeah.
Okay, looking back, because when I read the books, I'm always kicking and giggling during Manon's, like, scenes, and I'm like, I always thought it was because I had a girl crush on her, like, I wanted to be her, but now I'm like, was it actually that I wanted to be with her? Like, I don't know.
Both.
I don't know. Both. It's just both. So thank you for joining us for this unhinged episode. I'm so sorry if you like Rowan and we're assholes. We're working on it. We really tried to be positive. We just failed horrifically.
We, unfortunately, for all of you, we just don't like him very much. But if you love him, I'm so glad you do.
Let us know what you think. Is ACOTAR 5/6 coming out soon?
Oh my gosh.
And what you think of all our hot takes in the comments below.
Okay. On that note, Rachel, tell us your super exciting news.
I'm just going to keep it in as us whispering because that's so funny. Like, why are we whispering? I don't know. We would have decided to do it. Yeah, so my book is out. I'm not sure if that's been on the podcast, but my book is officially out. My fairy tale. And I will be at a book signing. Oh my god. Look at Jalaire coming in clutch. Just pulling one down. What a fucking icon. Look at how stunning that is. I wonder who wrote it. That was weird. I shouldn't have said that. I regret it immediately. But I will be, I mean, tour is a strong word, but I have 2 book appearances coming up. I will be at King's English next week, Thursday, May 8th. And it'll be down below. You do have to RSVP for it.
But it's free.
It is a free event. It's a local author night, so there's 4 authors coming. They'll be signing their books. They'll be talking to. I don't know if it'll be fun, but they have cool merch at King's English, so a great way to show up. Like, I love my Taylor Swift pins from King's English, and obviously their books. They have good books too.
Obviously, support local bookstores.
Exactly. Just because indie bookstore day is over does not mean indie bookstore supporting is over. And then I will be doing a story time, which is way cooler, for being honest, in July at Barnes & Noble in West Jordan. I'll put the deets below because I don't remember what day it is, but it's a Saturday.
It's in July.
So it's in July. So happy birthday to me. What a great 30th birthday present. So I will be reading it out loud. There's like a little stage. Pooh Bear's there. It'll be really cute. So come listen to me read it, and then I'll be signing books. And if you want to bring a kiddo, there will also be an activity after the reading. So we have coloring book pages from the book. And so then I'll be up at the front afterwards at a cute little table signing them if you want to get one.
It is Saturday, July 19th.
Look at Jalaire.
Because it's in my calendar.
Keeping me organizing. I love it. So those are my exciting announcements. So check it out. And then in terms of FanCorner, Like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. We love interacting with y'all. That Helion thing was so fun.
It was so funny.
About. I love someone having to explain to me like what Leo meant, like in terms of astrologically what their traits were. So bring us more of that energy. Make us learn new things. It's good for us.
Honestly, that'd be, you know, a lot of characters do have real birthdays. So maybe we can have like a character astrology episode.
That would be so smart. We have to learn everything because I know nothing.
Oh, I know enough.
Okay.
So it'll be okay.
Okay. But then do we do like moon risings, sun risings? Or
no,
are we just doing their basic ones?
We'll just stick with their sun, which is their main one. Because to know the other stuff, it's like location, time you were born. So we can't do that with fictional characters.
That's a great idea. We should definitely do it. People write in what you think people are. Like what each character, what you think they should be. So hopefully we'll do it justice. At least we'll start fights, as is our thing. But until then, have a very magical day.